Suella Braverman forces me to pick this topic again, because in the British capital, pro-Palestinian and right-wing extremist demonstrators caused anti-Semitic incidents and open violence over the weekend. And Home Secretary Suella Braverman is in trouble now. After those riots by right-wing extremists on the sidelines of a large pro-Palestinian demonstration in London, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak condemned violence that he sees on both sides. This would be completely unacceptable and disrespectful to the commemoration of the war dead, which were celebrated on November 11th, as Sunak said in a statement on Saturday evening. This applies to thugs from the EDL who attacked police officers and stormed the cenotaph, as well as the shouting of the anti-Semitic chants and the display of pro-Hamas posters and clothing at today's protest, as Sunak said the EDL are the right-wingers. And numerous right-wing extremists had tried to get to the Cenotaph War Memorial in the government district, which they said they wanted to protect from participants in the protest march. As the London police announced, contradicting Sunak here, they were unable to reach the memorial. The right-wing extremists then fought further fights with officials in the city centre. More than 90 people were arrested and 9 police officers were injured. On Sunday, police charged 7 suspects. At the same time, according to police, around 300,000 people took part in the pro-Palestinian protest march. The organizers spoke of 800,000 participants. According to the information, things remained largely peaceful though, and according to reports, there were also anti-Semitic slogans and posters. After the rally ended, some participants were arrested for setting off fireworks and wearing masks. And Home Secretary Suella Braverman condemned the fact that morbid, inflammatory and sometimes clearly criminal chants, posters and objects were openly displayed during the protests. The opposition blamed Braverman for the far-right riots. Labour Party leader Keir Starmer and London Mayor Sadiq Khan emphasised that the right-wing politician had encouraged the thugs by condemning the large demonstration as a hate march, and they called on Braverman to resign. The riots sparked a renewed debate in the British media on Sunday about whether Home Secretary Suella Braverman had deliberately inflamed the mood with a provocative opinion piece in the daily newspaper The Times in the run-up to the major rally. Last week, the Conservative politician accused the London police, for which she is responsible, of, among other things, being blind on their left eye and tolerating legal violations during these hate marches against the Israeli bombing of the Gaza Strip. People who took part in Saturday's demonstrations for the Palestinians in London were, summarily described by Home Secretary as Islamists and mob, even though the demonstrations in London in recent weeks have been largely peaceful. Labour opposition leader Keir Starmer accused Braverman of sowing hatred with her comments. Few public figures have recently done more to divide society and turn Britons against each other, he said. The Sunday Mirror took a similar view and called on Prime Minister Sunak to kick her out now. The Conservative hardliner has repeatedly provoked in recent months. She recently described homelessness as a lifestyle choice. At the party conference in Manchester in early October, she warned of a hurricane of mass migration and that the Labour Party was doing nothing about it. In doing so, she struck a chord with the Conservative Party base. Many people there want the number of illegal migrants to be reduced to 0. The party has moved to the right. That was the opinion of Sophie Stowers from the think tank UK in a Changing Europe here. The real reason why Sunak has not fired Braverman so far is that he largely agrees with her worldview, even if he expresses himself more cautiously, at least in the opinion of British journalist Paul Waugh on the head of government's actions. However, observers are speculating whether the Prime Minister could possibly reshuffle the Conservative cabinet this week or at some point until the weekend. In any case, Defence Minister Grant Shapps did not want to comment. And Braverman would still be in office in a few days, everybody's sure. And the question for the coming week remains whether Suella Braverman can hold on to it. The Labour Party accuses her of inciting various groups in the country against each other. And London Mayor Sadiq Khan also saw them as responsible for the march of the right-wing radical groups. Quite a few suggest that Braverman is deliberately trying to provoke in order to make a name for herself as a potential Conservative Party leader in the future. And I'm sure we'll be hearing more from Braverman during this week. The Supreme Court of the United Kingdom is set to deliver its ruling on Wednesday on the legality of the deportations of refugees to Rwanda, which is defended by Braverman. No other cabinet member in the British government stirs up as much political controversy as the far-right Conservative. But who is this Suella Braverman? Well, we know this woman is out to attack. No other cabinet member in the British government, as I said, stirs up as much political controversy as her. In her political camp, she, has long been seen as a hopeful candidate for top positions by the extreme right-wingers. And Prime Minister Rishi Sunak seems downright weak against the minister. And Suella Braverman seems to have a better command of the power game here. It can be brutal, cause a stir, distribute broadsides, and to dish it out, most recently against her own police, whom she accuses of ignoring and allowing pro-Palestinian acts of violence to pass during the demonstrations in recent weeks, as I said earlier in the video. And her approach to refugee policy is also uncompromising. She wants to deport those who arrive on England's coast in boats across the English Channel to Rwanda in East Africa. And in front of the camera, she confessed that she was dreaming about finally being able to read about the first deportation flight that had taken off and that what she wants to see on the front page. Because so far courts have banned this. But this week, the highest court will decide. It's conceivable that in the event of a new ban, it will demand that Great Britain renounce the rules of the UN Refugee Convention, not the court that she will. She had recently warned the leading states that they no longer fit into the modern age, and she said that in a speech in Washington. And her rhetoric on the refugee issue is merciless. A hurricane, as I said, is coming to the country when it comes to migration, according to Braverman. And football legend and BBC presenter Gary Lineker posted months ago that Braverman's choice of words reminded him of those here in Germany in the 1930s. A huge uprising in the country, and Lineker briefly disappeared from the television screen even. And Braverman was once again in the focus of the press. In private, Braverman is said to be a charming and friendly woman in contrast. Her first name, Suella, is short for Sue Ellen, and her parents actually had Sue Ellen in mind from the US series Dallas, the wife of the brutal oil tycoon J.R., who seemed a bit depraved in character, J.R. Ewing. Suella is married to Rael Braverman, a manager at Mercedes-Benz, and according to Suella Braverman, he was a proud Jew and Zionist. Her parents immigrated to England from Commonwealth countries in the 1960s. She often tells their story also to make it clear that they took a completely different, in her case more honest route into the country than those who are now crossing illegally by boat. And when Braverman is expecting her second child as minister in Boris Johnson's government in 2021, she's the first to take parental leave from such a political office. The relevant British law is being changed especially for her. And Braverman is resilient. It is said that she simply doesn't read the nasty posts about herself on X, on formerly Twitter. She doesn't worry about them. She will be elected to Parliament for the first time in 2015, or was elected with a large majority in the Fareham constituency, which she can increase at the next election. And she was fighting for Brexit, even though she studied as a law student on the European Erasmus exchange at the Sorbonne in Paris, and describes herself as a Francophile. Erasmus disappeared in Great Britain when it left the EU. And when Boris Johnson came under massive pressure in 21 and cabinet members gradually abandoned him, Braverman called for his resignation on television. Her ability to constantly push boundaries has taken her far with the post-Brexit Tories. At their party conference in October, many believe she has rock star qualities that Prime Minister Sunak does not show. And Braverman could provoke a clash of culture in many political areas. Her insulting of political opponents in Parliament as left liberal or Guardian readers who eat tofu and are wokerati is quite legendary, a kind of soundtrack to Braverman's career. But in any case, the woman is polarizing. Some in her own ranks see it as her as a dark force. Tory member Sayeeda Wasi said, "She fights cultural wars. She doesn't heal anything. She blows up everything." On the other hand, the Conservative MP Miriam Kate said, "I find it bizarre the caricature the media's paint of her. According to this, Suella is a tough, unemotional right-wing figure. It's downright ridiculous how far that is from the truth," she said. Political observers are eagerly waiting to see how long the controversial zealot Braverman will stay in the office of Home Secretary, especially now, over the weekend with sensitive rallies that Braverman called hate marches. And like political arm wrestling, always very easy across borders. Until someone loses their nerve and strength, and if Sunak throws her out of his already weak government, his government, Braverman will know how to use this to an advantage for a political profile. Then she will probably blow the horns of attack within the Tory party. So Sunak is in a desperate position at the moment. But this woman is dangerous. And if you want to know something else, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.